Good evening, guys. I'm WUSA, Season 2, Episode 257. It is New Year's Eve, a few hours from New Year's, and I gotta say, I do kind of regret not getting out yesterday or today to get to my goal because I was so close to reaching my goal. But that's all right because we will definitely get it next year. We've been doing great. Everything is fine, and it's just a number, so I'm not going to stress over it. So one thing I wanted to talk to you about today was statistics for the year. I'm a numbers guy. Every little number that I see, I have to look at it, add it together, figure up its multiples, its divisors, all these different things. And in fact, even this episode 257, 256 was such a perfect number, but 257, I guess, is better. So 256 is 2 to the 8th, but that's all right. That's a good number in computing, by the way. All right, let's talk about statistics for 2023. In 2023, I visited at least 70 different casinos that I played at. I actually visited more casinos than that, but there were a few where I found no plays, and so I did not even register those. So just to get an idea, at least 70 casinos. As far as blackjack sessions, I played 500 blackjack sessions exactly. I'm thinking the number may actually be like 501 or 502 because there were a few times where I broke even that I may have not put it in the books. I also had 1,118 sessions of slot play. So 1,118 slot sessions. All right, let's look at, top places that I made money. The top 4 places that I won money. First place, I won $71,380 at this casino without them even being slightly suspicious of me. Impossible. No way. That's what other people will tell you. But believe me, you do it right, you can do it. I know people who have been hitting the same casinos for 10 years, 5 years, and no one suspects anything if you do it right. My second top casino, $48,447. Third best casino, $40,140. And fourth best casino, $28,071, meaning that those 4 casinos accounted for 76% of my wins. Top winning slot day was plus $15,743. Top losing slot day minus $5,894. And then the average slot win per casino, per visit, $129. That includes wins and losses. All right, now let's go to blackjack. My best blackjack win is going to surprise you a lot, is $3,200 in one session, not one day, one session. I had 102 sessions where I won at least $1,000, 8 sessions where I won $2,000 or more dollars. My average blackjack win was $632, and my most common outcome in blackjack was winning between $400 and $600, just to give you an idea here. Let's see, the most common bet spread that I had this year was 50 to 500. My second most common bet spread was 100 to 1,000. And my third most common bet spread was 50 to 1,000. I had 57 double-deck sessions, approximately 433 six-deck sessions, and between 1 and 3 double-deck sessions. 8-deck sessions. 57 double-deck, 433 six-deck, and between 1 and 3 8 deck sessions. Let's see. I visited 3 casinos at least 100 times, and those 3 casinos are my 3 top casinos. I visited 8 casinos at least 50 times, and I visited 11 casinos at least 25 times. So, what does all this stuff tell us? Basically, the casinos I visit the most, I've done the best at. There are some smaller casinos that I've visited that are in the top 15 that I visit that I've not done well at. However, none of those top 15 have I ended up with a losing year at. So, all top 15 casinos I visited, I ended up with a winning year. My worst slot day I still remember. My best slot day I still remember. My best blackjack day, I don't remember. My top 10 best blackjack days, I don't remember, which is very unusual. My worst blackjack day, worst blackjack session, I lost, and still hurts. That's what cost me the year. One session, one table, I lost $22,200. I've had only 4 other times where I lost $10,000 to $12,000. That was my peak. 10 to 12,000, 4 of them. One of them at 22,200. And as far as months, I didn't look. I believe I ended up ahead every month in slot play. I ended up making a profit 11 out of 12 months in blackjack. I ended up losing $495 in March. And I thought I had this written down. I've got it. Oh, there it is. Poker, I lost $484 for the year. And that was primarily because of one session where I lost, I think, $2,100. So that gives you an idea of what I did this year. I traveled to a whole lot of casinos, 70 casinos. I regularly traveled to 15 casinos and ended up ahead of all 15. And the top 4 casinos that I visited were my top 4 winners of the year. Lessons learned. I don't know. I guess looking back at my wins and losses, one thing I didn't do is look at my big comebacks. And you know what? Somebody emailed me and asked me about my big comebacks, and I actually emailed him back. And I'm going to look at that right now while I'm talking to you and let you know how far down I've been able to come back, and when I was not able to come back. Let me see. Well, let me check on this, and I'll come right back. Okay, so I have the stats here, and I looked this up actually for a listener, and at that time my average win was 457. Now it's over 600, 632. But that was early December. That was after my big drop early December. So with sessions of losses of $3,000 or more, I actually ended up ahead for the session 58% of the time. $4,000 or more, I ended up coming back and being ahead 45% of the time. With a loss of $5,000 or more, I ended up with a 48% win rate. With $7,000 or more, with a 35% win rate. And with $10,000 or more, which we know was very few, I ended up with a 25% win rate. What that tells us is anywhere between minus 5,000 and less, I pretty much made my money back half the time, almost half the time. Actually, more than half the time, if you average it. It was the few sessions, and how many was there where I lost between 7 and 10,000. I would estimate maybe 20, and I came back about an average of 30% of the time to a positive, and I know I left a lot of those with minus 500, minus 700, and things like that. So that just gives you kind of an idea of where my brain is and how I do and all that. My biggest reason for leaving down was running out of time or a meeting. And my biggest reason for leaving one up is running out of time. When I have a good session, I try to limit it to an hour. When I have a bad session, I'll stay longer. And I've had those be as long as 3, 4, 5, 6 hours. But it's easier to cover your tracks when you're losing money, and it's easier to bet bigger when you're losing money. And honestly, the percentage of the time when I went to two hands instead of one hand, I would say would be very low. I have the statistics, but I didn't look at them for this podcast. But I would say I went to two hands probably 15 to 20% of the time. So probably 80% of the time I stuck with one hand. And one of the top reasons that people that I know who are pit bosses say that they were able to catch card counters is because they went to two hands all of a sudden. They were playing one hand at minimum, and then next thing you know, they're playing two hands at 400, two hands of 800, or whatever it might be. Top bets for the year, I can't recall. I'm thinking I had a bunch of $4,000 bets, a lot of $3,000 and $2,000 bets. My biggest bet spread was of the year was probably for sure 40 to 1 or 1 to 40. I'm trying to think, did I have any $25 ones that I went really high on? Because 25 to 2,000 would be 1 to 40 or 1 to 80 actually. I'd say probably 1 to 40, maybe slightly more, was my biggest bet spread, with my average bet spread being 1 to 10, 1 to 20, somewhere in there. So I'd say average was probably 1 to 15, highest 1 to 40, and lowest bet spread I would say was flat bet. There were sessions where I had to leave because of a phone call or because I won a bunch of money flat betting that the count was negative the whole time. There were a few sessions where I bet 100 to 100, and it was like half an hour, 40 minutes, and I never got to raise my bet. And there were some times when the positive count was so low that I cut it down from like a 1 to 5 to like quarters counts. So 1 1/4, 1 1/2, 1 3/4, 2, and I raised incrementally. So instead of going 100 to 200 to 300, I went 100, 125, 150, maybe then to 200, and so on, because of the count being so low for such a long period of time. But it was moving upward, but not enough to go a full step up. So kind of give you an idea of my brain and what happened this year. Next year, I'm thinking I'm going to keep things pretty much the same. Tonight, I booked my trip to Europe. It's going to be in March and April. I'm going to be there for probably, it looks like, 9 or 10 days. And going to be visiting at least England and France, and maybe some of the countries north of France, Germany, Netherlands, and those, maybe. So we'll see about that. So really, that's it for right now. I forgot to add where I ended up for the year. I ended up at 244,881, I believe. 244,881 for the year. So if you're still listening, that's where we were. Now, I hope you guys all have a good new year, and I hope this information helps you. As always, I'm here to help you if you need it. Questions or comments, mwusa21@gmail.com, mwusa21@gmail.com. See you next year.